There's a famous Chinese proverb which says, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now." I think it is so true, especially with fruit trees, since they can take around 3 to 5 years to start yielding fruits. So, when we moved into this place around 3 years ago, even before we set up our vegetable garden, the very first thing we planted were some of these fruit trees. In today's video, we wanted to share an update of the different fruit trees we have here in our garden and what spring maintenance we do for them. So in our side yard, we had the space where we could add around 4 dwarf trees. In the spring of 2019, we added a couple of peach trees and a couple of apple varieties from Stark Brothers. In terms of spring maintenance, most fruit trees are quite similar, in which we need to add some compost, some liquid fertilizer, and also mulch the area really well. Last year in our apples, we had cedar rust issues, which is basically due to the cedar tree pollen attacking the apple leaves. So as a preventative measure, this year we are spraying some organic copper fungicide and a horticultural spray along with neem oil, and hopefully this should prevent any disease and also take care of any insect issues if at all. If we do see rust showing up in early summer, I think we might do another round of spraying. But since these sprays are all organic, honestly I'm not too worried about using them. If you haven't grown peaches or apples before, which for us was the first time, they start off with this beautiful display of flowers in early spring, almost like cherry blossoms, and then they get pollinated to turn into these tiny fruits, which now look like this over a period of 1 month. Next, moving on to our berry bush patch, we have 3 blueberry plants and 2 raspberry varieties growing in the garden. The same drill here, adding some compost and a good liquid fertilizer always helps the plant in the spring to produce good leaf growth and fruits. One thing to remember with berries though is that they love an acidic soil. And the way you make your soil naturally acidic is to add pine needles or pine bark as mulch, which we had done last fall. So this year we're just topping up with more compost and adding some acidic blueberry specific fertilizer. Berries usually don't have any disease or insect issues, so no need to really spray anything on them. But just when the plant starts setting out fruit, which is around June time frame, we would need to add some sort of netting to save some of the fruits for us from the birds and squirrels. Moving to some tropical plants which we are trying to grow here, we have a couple of Chicago hardy figs, again from Stark Brothers. So in 2019 winter, we hadn't provided any sort of protection for our figs, and sadly all the branches in the top had frozen, and in the following summer they started growing back, but all the way from the roots. So this essentially meant there was no time for them to yield any fruit really. So this year, last winter, we tried covering the tropical plants with leaves and some cardboard. And a couple of weeks back, we removed those leaves and voila, they do seem to have survived, which we see some new leaves popping up from last year's branches, and hopefully this year they have enough time to produce fruits before the winter kicks in. So last year we also started growing a dwarf Cavendish banana in a container, and we eventually moved it into the ground because it grew really big. We tried doing the same approach to protect it from the winter, but I don't see any growth on them still, which makes me really sad. So let's see, I've still not given up. Maybe by early summer, if it still doesn't pop up something, we might probably get a new plant. Moving on to our container fruits, we have a Mayo lemon plant and a wonderful pomegranate tree growing in pots, which are again 1 year old. We had stored these indoors during the winter. In the spring, we moved them to bigger pots, added some fertilizer, and have kept them out on the patio. Last year, we got one big lemon from this tiny plant and no pomegranates yet, but hopefully, it'll make its debut this year. So that's pretty much all the fruit trees we have here in our garden. Fruit trees are considerably less maintenance than growing vegetables, and the best part is they're going to yield fruit for many years to come. So if you're thinking of trying some, maybe in the garden or even in a container, spring is a good time to add them. If you would like to see some of how to grow series on any of these fruit trees, or have any tips of how to better protect the tropical plants in a winter area like ours, do let us know in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for your time and watching this video. If you like the content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Take care and stay safe. Wishing you all a very good health. Take care.